Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting for Bedford Township Board for August 11th, 2020. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment in remembrance of Ron Whipple and Tiffany Kidd. Such a tragic loss. Okay. At this time, if Phil could lead us in prayer.
Sure, thank you. Father in heaven, we come to you tonight and ask for your blessing upon our country, upon our state, and upon our township. I pray that we will turn to you in these difficult times and rely upon you for strength in determining proper direction that we should head in these difficult times. I pray for the board members tonight, God, that you would provide them with wisdom, discernment, and patience as they navigate through this agenda and make decisions that are important to our township. Make all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Okay, approval of the agenda. I would like the board to remove item 8B, update on the Lewis Avenue Waterline Extension Project under the railroad tracks. Some things came up today and they're not ready to present, so we'll add that to the next agenda next week. So Ms. Hirschberger, if you could add it tomorrow. And also add the roundabout to the agenda too for next week.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay, a motion and support. Mr. Welling, could you accept the call in right now? That is Mr. Montry. We'll wait till you get him in before we do the roll. Okay. Okay, so we have a support and a motion made. Could you, any discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Ms. Tinneberry?
You're muted, Ms. Tinneberry.
Aye. Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item number 3 is the consent agenda. The agenda committee recommends to A, approve and place on file the minutes of the July 21st, 2020 regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board.
Motion to approve the minutes as published.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Clemens. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. We have no presentations. We're on public comment. Comments limited to 2 minutes. Board agenda items only. Okay, moving on to staff reports. We have 6A, approval of to purchase a Cisco Network security firewall appliance and mid-range PC from IT Right for the fire department. Chief Massingill. George,
Yes,
hold on, Chief. Let's accept that call. Go ahead, George. Go ahead and state your name and address.
Okay, this is Gail Kane at 1056 West Temperance. Even though you have removed a couple things from the agenda, I wanted to make a comment. Regarding 6C, the fire station at District 2, I hope that in this effort, that before we actually start the building and the construction, and I'm all for it, but I hope that we can have the money in place instead of doing things as we seem to be doing in this township, where we just go ahead and do stuff and then hope we can find the money. So I'm looking to get that kind of information. Additionally, number 8B, the lack of the information regarding that whole project, which is my understanding was given to the Drain Commission, it would have been nicer if we had some other things in place there. And I have made the fire chief aware that all the hydrants that are along that line were all put in improperly. They're all facing the wrong way. So when they address this project of whatever it could be, and heaven help us, I have an idea of where it's going. Hopefully they can repair that, and it should not be on our ticket. I believe from the FOIA I have, that is the church's responsibility there. The other issue is with the Ordinance Officer. This is the person who was working while the other was off on COVID unemployment. And I would like to know what her current pay is, what she will be paid, and what her restricted hours for working will be. As it stands, she is the only one who works weekends. I don't think that should be the case. And also the only one after hours. There are 3 of them, and they should rotate this. Seniority should not be an issue. And especially, is this money already in the budget? And I'm considering why it is that we would still have a union maintenance man on layoff at this time. So I will sit tight and listen to the rest of the meeting and know that the other things will be addressed next week. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Next caller.
Oh, I will.
Go ahead with your name and address, please.
This is Lamar Frederick. I was going to talk about the ordinance issue, but since it's already been covered. Hi, this is Lamar Frederick. I was going to talk about the ordinance memo, which was sorely lacking in information, i.e. how many hours, is it part-time, is it 20 hours, is it 5 hours, is it 9 hours, or it's whatever is going to be done. Secondly, the rate of pay is not set forth, and it seems to me that if the citizens are going to tune in and understand what's going on, they ought to at least have some information about, one, how many hours you're going to work, and number two, what the rate of pay is going to be. Lastly, congratulations to the fire department. They have secured additional grants which supplements the cost of operations, and they've been really, really great in securing these grants. And so, again, congratulations to the chief and the grant writers and all the work that they do to secure these grants. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Any more callers, George? Let's make sure Lamar's hung up this time. Okay. Any more callers or no? Got to 6A, approval to purchase a Cisco Network security firewall appliance and mid-range PC from IT Right for the fire department. Chief?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, this is about 3 years worth of work that we've been doing, upgrading our connectivity, updating the protection that we have. When we started, we had no firewalls in any of the stations. We had no connectivity between the stations and the township servers. We're now to the point where we've got 2/3 of our stations up and running with connectivity and firewall protection. So this year we budgeted to get the third station, Station 2 over on Dean Road, in line to get the firewall protection in place. and to give us the ability to connect with the rest of the system, including the phone system, the internet, the servers, and have that firewall protection. So the quotes in front of you are for that, as well as we're down to our last PC is part of the upgrades as well. If you remember, 3 years ago, we had to replace 6 of them that were obsolete. I think we were only 3 or 4 last year. This year, we're down to just 1. So we have little by little through the years with some careful budgeting, put ourselves in a position that we're ready to move forward with some new updated equipment and the protection and connectivity that we need.
Okay, very cool. Comments, questions for Chief? Okay, seeing none, I look for a motion. Oh, Mr. Steiner has a question. Go ahead.
I was gonna make a motion, but just real quick too, Chief, good job at spacing this out and the equipment, just like a lot of other items for purchase that you've done, the spacing out for the budget. So this will be a good plan and time that when you move forward, going down the road, when these PCs need to be replaced, again, you'll have a rotating schedule and be able to less impact the budget by being able to order only a few at a time instead of a mass ordering. So good work on that too. With that said, I will make the motion to approve the purchase of the Cisco Network Security Firewall Appliance mid-range PC from IT Right at a total combined cost of $1,935 as presented.
Support. Okay, motion supported by Mr. Clements. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Mr. Montry? Okay, let's move on, Trudy.
Okay. Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 6-0. George, did Craig get kicked off there? Okay, he's calling back in right now. Okay, item 6B, acceptance of the assistance to firefighters COVID-19 supplemental grant in the amount of $12,652.18. Chief?
Yes, so the federal grant period normally runs from about February through May, and as always, we apply for anything that we qualify for, hoping to get some either reimbursement in this case or upgrade our equipment or anything else that we can. There was a supplement this year because of the COVID emergency, and we applied for that. This is generally reimbursement for funds that were already spent. We've been burning through supplies, the masks, the sanitizers, things like that. We've been really moving through them pretty quick. Our high-end respirators, and this is a reimbursement for those items. Anything that we had purchased after January 1st of 2020 is qualified. So it does have a 10% match, which means $1,265.22 that we have actually already paid for these items. We won't be reimbursed for, but the rest of the amount will get reimbursement as long as the board sees fit to approve us accepting the grant.
Okay, any comments or questions? Very good job, Chief. I look for a motion.
I move we accept the assistance to the firefighters COVID-19 supplemental grant in the amount of $12,652.18.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Ms. Januzak. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 7-0. Item 6C, approval to continue with engineering for Fire Station 2 with Jacobs Architects. Chief?
Yes, so this is sort of a more complicated request in that I think it's some due diligence that we need to do with the goal of accepting a larger grant that we were awarded this week. Station 2 over on Dean Road, we've been looking at, we've been having discussions as far as the future of that and the old feasibility study from 2005 and an update or and remodeling and things of that nature. We were awarded this week a $98,000 grant, although 10% of that is a cost match, but so essentially $89,000 toward upgrades of the fire suppression and fire alarm system in the existing building. The easiest thing to do would be say, absolutely, it's federal money that is basically free for us, and take it and move forward with the project. But being that we don't want to either chase good money after bad or get started and do things that are going to cause us headaches down the road, we thought it prudent to continue with the work that Jacobs Architect's been doing and that we had budgeted this year. We had $4,000 budgeted to do an evaluation of the building and make sure that remodeling was the right direction to go. Along with that, some conceptual ideas. So if we decide to accept this grant and we're installing the sprinkler and the fire alarm system, we're not tearing it out in 2 or 3 years when we're doing some work. So we need to have some coordination with this so that we're not redoing work that's 3 years old. We're expanding on that work as we further move on the building. The request is a little bit time sensitive. We have to decide before, right around the beginning of September whether or not we're going to accept this federal money, meaning that we're going to need to move quickly in the next week or two to get a quick evaluation of the building to make sure that we can accomplish what we need to and the amount of money we were awarded in the grant, and then ultimately come back to the board and decide whether or not it's in the best interest of the township and the fire department to accept the funds and install the sprinkler and fire alarm system. I did speak with Mr. Jacobs today briefly because he had been into the feasibility study as part of earlier work, and I'm pretty optimistic that we're going to be able to accomplish what we set out with this grant. I'm optimistic, although he's still got some work to do. I'm just very optimistic we're going to come back to the board with a recommendation to accept it, but it's a little premature to be asking for board approval at this time.
Stenberry?
Will you be ready to come back at our next board meeting? Well, no, that'll be next week, right?
Yeah, it would be a little tight, but I
Okay.
believe the September 1st one we would.
Okay, September 1st. And then I'm asking that you would have that itemized out so that we can see the pros and cons and make a decision based on the whole story and not just what the grant would bring in and all of everything that Jacobs says needs to be done as well.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's why we were kind of quick to get it on the agenda tonight, or try and get it on the agenda tonight to give them as much time as we could ahead of that September 1st meeting, because it's a fair amount of work that he's going to have to do evaluating the existing building and making sure there are no surprises down the road.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question, could I just have my other question? Or
No, go ahead.
my other question is, could you answer the caller's question about whether or not it's in the budget and kind of give an understanding of the two different millages and whether or not it's in the budget?
As far as the engineering work for Fire Station 2?
The caller asked, is the money for the upgrade to Fire Station 2 in the budget?
So what we anticipate, at least what the direction that we're heading, is a very, very phased approach to upgrades at Station 2. If the intention was to tear that building down, even though it's free federal money, it's still our tax money as taxpayers. It would probably be poor form to accept it, knowing that our long-term plan is not to keep that building. I think accepting $100,000 towards an upgrade is likely to steer us even further towards remodeling of that building. Getting some conceptual ideas from Jacobs Architects is certainly in the budget. Accepting this grant and getting the grant work done that we were approved for is definitely in the budget, and the budget would be able to absorb the cost match on our end, the $8,900. So yes, all of those things are coming. Work in phases beyond that upgrading the station. We kind of need to get Jacobs to give us a general idea what each phase of the upgrade would be, so that we can start looking long-term down 2-3 years down the road. It would be way too early to say, oh yeah, the budget can sustain that or not. So we.
But
we
you're
just-
saying it's over more than one fiscal year, so the
Absolutely.
budget, okay. Thank you.
Any more comments, Mr. Steiner?
I think Ms. Tinbury's questions pretty much answered most of it. Chief, the exact date that you have to have an answer for this grant, was it the beginning of September?
Yeah, I believe it's 30 days. I believe it's like September 3rd or 4th. So definitely to be on your agenda on the 1st. Is that correct?
Okay, so
September 1st is the meeting, so we still have time.
okay, so that's fast timing, and of course we'd have to move quickly if it's approved at that time. And I do know that this last year we were with you on a walkthrough through the station. A lot of the things that you pointed out at that time are very recognizable, and I'm sure that Mr. Jacobs' firm is going to say a lot of the same things that you pointed out. So I'll be interested to see what the recommendation is in a couple weeks. And I agree, if we're going to accept money, we certainly aren't going to accept money to tear something down. So we need to be absolutely sure that if we accept that money, that our intention and our goal at that time is to refurbish that station. And again, due to the size of the new equipment, as large as it's gotten over the years, we may have to do some major modifications to accommodate not only the size of the doors in the building, but of course the turning of the apparatus around the facility as well. So, but I'm sure Mr. Jacobs will point that out to you, and so I'm confident you'll have a good recommendation one way or the other.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for Chief? Okay, I look for a motion.
I move we table the item 6C, continuing with engineering fire station 2 with Jacobs Architect until the first meeting in September.
Support.
Can I ask a question, ma'am?
Me, yes.
If by tabling the engineering work, we won't be able to bring back a recommendation.
No, I'm not tabling, I'm tabling, instead of approval to continue with the, oh, I see. I thought you said it was premature, but you still need approval. I withdraw my motion.
I seen his eyebrows raised there, so.
Well, it's dark in here. I can't read it very well. I
I have
move
to say,
that
that's
we
the
approve
first
the,
time I've ever seen Chief nervous. I have to comment. I've seen him at fire scenes and I've never seen him nervous until right that minute.
he's looked pretty frigid there the whole time. I haven't seen him move, but I move that we approve the continuation of the engineering for Fire Station 2 with Jacobs Architecture.
And I do support.
Okay, motion and support, Mr. Clemens. Discussion, Mr. Steiner.
Friendly comment is that it will be then brought back to the first meeting in September with the finding of review.
I accept.
Okay, any more comments or questions, discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Hertzberger, could you call the roll, please?
Canterbury,
Aye.
Mr. Clemens,
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek,
Aye.
Mr. Montroy,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni.
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Okay, item 8A, vouchers for payment, Ms. Hertzberger.
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers be approved for payment. General Fund, $418,630.89. Fire District, $27,942.18. Police Fund, $2,248.53. Park Fund, $5,809.58. Fire Equipment, $30,036.82. Library Fund, $6,811.23. Stonegate SAD, $148.75. Downtown Development Authority, $1,437.81. Sewer O&M Fund, $432,623.84. Trust and Agency Fund, $27,272.43, for a grand total of $952,962.16.
Support. But
Okay, supported by Ms. Januzak. Discussion, Ms. Tinberry?
Was Krista gonna say,
it should have been 94 cents instead of 84
Oh, I
cents.
thought you said support.
I did,
I thought
but I said, but the change.
Sorry about that.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
94.
Okay.
just checking, thank you.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Januzak?
Aye.
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy? I didn't hear him.
Can you hear me?
Mr. Montroy, you there? I think he's having trouble. He keeps getting kicked off.
Okay. Mr. Peroni?
I'm there.
Oh,
There.
he is here. We didn't hear you. You said aye?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, and the motion passed 7-0. Okay, moving on to 8C, approval to promote ordinance officer to part-time. So basically, this is a move to make a seasonal person that's not really seasonal. She's been with us for a little over a year now, I believe. Plans to continue to stay with us. We need the position filled, so it's just make it more of a permanent position. I believe, Ms. Hirschberger, isn't it 1504 is what it goes up to?
Part-time goes up to 1539.
1539 from 1479. So it's, do the math on 39, 79 something. So it's roughly 50 cent raise. So, as far as hours, the hours will remain the same for now. And then as far as the hours for the ordinance department, Shayla will be working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 11 to 7. Damon will be working day hours. Mainly Shayla does a lot of the grass complaints at this time, so the whole week will be covered because Caitlin will be doing evening Thursday, Friday, and then weekends 11 to 7, Saturday and Sunday. As of right now, Shayla hours have been cut back to 24 due to her request, and we'll be looking to, after talking with Chief Massengill, with today with he got information from our labor attorney Phil Nance that part-time employees can work up to 40 hours as long as we don't have over 50 full-time employees. Am I saying that correctly, Chief? But he's gonna send an email, so if we need to bump Caitlin's hours up, and this isn't true, what he's telling me, then Caitlin could come in from like 10 to 8 or something and not exceed those hours to cover more of that time on the weekends. So if it's not true, we'll be looking for somebody to come in for roughly 8 to 10 hours a week on the weekends to cover some of those other gapped hours. As far as Caitlin goes, her pay is a partnership with the fire department. He gives the township or the general fund $15,000 into that department as a partnership. As you board members know, we've saved over $30,000 with the ordinance department going out on all their illegal burns by moving our hours to weekends. So, this is the coverage we really, it's for the fire department as well. So we're saving them money, roughly 30,000. He gave us 15, so we kind of split it in half there. As far as the raise goes with, you're talking, $300-400 for the year, so it won't affect the budget. It's already in the budget. So, comments, questions? Ms. Denver?
Well, first of all, I have to agree with the caller that when we get a request like this to make a change, I would like to see more detail in the, as a trustee, I shouldn't have to call and ask what happened here, what's this or what's that. Your opening comment stated that it's not going to change the hours. Personally, as a trustee, I do not believe we should be changing someone's job classification during this time because we laid off people. It doesn't seem right to me that, I'm sure I mean, this has nothing to do, again, every time I raise a question, somebody makes it personal. I don't even know the girl, but I'm sure she's an excellent worker and I'm thankful that she's helping out the fire department. All of that is good, but I don't see a need. In this request, there's not been stated a need. It's only been said that she's a great person. And so if her hours aren't going to increase, then I don't see a need. It's not about the $300. It's about the fact that we've laid off other people and we shouldn't be making changes in classification during this time. And my other question is, you said one of the employees has had her hours cut because she requested it. I'm not sure why that would be.
Well, because we have an agreement with chief that we need to cover the weekend hours. The ordinance officer doesn't want to work the weekend hours. So she she can't work nights because of vision. So as far as the weekends, she doesn't want to work weekends. And so she said, I will just cut my hours back and work these 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we're going to need to cover a few more hours on the weekend in order to fulfill the duty with chief that we've, promised. And 11 to 7 is close, but I like to see it. I think we talked about 10 to 8 right now while it's still light out. You're talking about a person that is going to be a permanent employee. We don't have plans to lay off this person. So I don't understand why we would keep them seasonal. What's the point of that? As far as the people that have been laid off, there's no plans for any of my people to bring back. We're getting the job done. I've heard from a few people, we've laid off people. I understand that. But as far as I'm concerned, every single person that's been laid off does not need to be replaced. Doesn't need to be replaced. So we're getting the maintenance work done in the parks. Everything's fulfilled. We're bringing seasonal people in, as we always do. Assessing departments, getting the job done. Things are moving along, and the ordinance department is fulfilling 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday, with 3 people. So I don't see why we would keep somebody seasonally. Personally, I don't care. I mean, somebody's been with us a year, I would think they deserve a little bit of a bump after a year. And she's working nights and weekends. I think 50 cents is, or whatever it is, I'm not sure, 40 or 50 cents, I think is more than fair. So, but if we want to keep them seasonal and leave it that way, but how long does somebody work for us until they get a little bit of a raise? She didn't get the 2% this year. So
Well, I just shared my opinion. I appreciate your opinion. I just shared my opinion.
Yeah. Any more comments, questions? Ms. Hirschberger?
My question, Nate. And it was,
We're having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if you're on speaker or what, but we cannot hear you.
Is that better? Nothing?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Craig.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I was just saying, maybe I should just stay quiet. I was just saying that I had the same, I guess, apprehension as Nancy did. And I was satisfied with the response. That it does make sense to me that how long do you keep someone on at seasonal status? But it does make sense to me to go to the part-time status. But that I had kind of the same reservation when I was looking at it originally as well.
Ms. Hirschberger?
In the meeting that we had talking about hours for the fire department, Chief wanted someone who would be on till 9 PM during the burning season. Will these be her hours during the burning season?
You're talking weekends?
It would be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday during the burning season, because burning doesn't end till 8, so we would need someone on till 9 to make sure that the fires are out. That's the reason we brought her on to begin with.
Be adjusting hours during burn season to cover them.
So we would be covering them Friday, Saturday, Sunday during the burning season. And this may come up, I don't know, but when we were laying off people, we did lay off a part-time person in the ordinance department. So we're putting someone back in that we did lay off. I mean, she wasn't the person that got laid off, but someone did get laid off. We went from 3 part-time people down to 2 and a seasonal.
Well, I don't want to get personal with one of the
No,
people.
I don't want to get personal. I was just saying,
There's a reason, one Rico can't come back, so
right.
the health issues. But I mean, yeah, I mean, whatever the pleasures of the board. So, hours will be covered. There was a little confusion with Damon Cecil last week or the week before with the actual schedule. And Chief came in because one of the weekends wasn't covered because Caitlin had to take a weekend off, and it was a last minute because of a family situation, and they didn't cover. So that's when Chief came in and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And we went over it and worked on the schedule, and we're on a better track now. So, Mr. Steiner.
So a couple things. So your total hours for this person, what are you expecting at this point during, especially going into burning season soon? Then once we get out of burning season, what are we going to expect for those hours? Because it starts to get dark around 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then the other question is, since a portion of that money is coming
Hold on,
out
one
of the chief's
question at a
budget.
time. Take it one question at a time. So,
Okay.
with the burn season, okay, keep in mind, the only thing they don't deal with, even in the wintertime, they don't deal with just burns. They have liquor inspections they stay very busy with. You know this. There's tons of stuff the ordinance department does. We just approve them to see something, say something. They've had to hold off on that for a while because they're so busy. So go ahead with your next question.
So I was basically asking, so you're talking about still having the same hours during the winter months, even after dark and no burning?
They could be adjusted a little bit. I'm sure they probably will, because we're not going to have people out there at nighttime. There's no reason to, maybe a little bit, but yeah, they always get adjusted in the wintertime.
Okay, so when we also do have coverage that the fire department needs, if this person does have to be off, are we going to make regular arrangements so we are covered on the weekends with
Correct.
the other two?
If this person's off, Damon or Shayla are coming on the weekends and cover, and Damon and Shayla will cover hours. But we're trying to find one more person that can cover the hours Shayla just gave up. She's gave up 8 hours. So we can bring somebody in that, could be a little more flexible, that works weekends. She could come and they'll change their schedule on the weekend to where there's 2 people working the weekend, not just one. That way, if Caitlin does take off or move her schedule on, you have another weekend person that is a little more consistent. So we're looking at one more person to bring on seasonally if we keep Caitlin on part-time, and then we don't have to worry so much about, schedule changes. And the budget will change for it because Shayla's got less hours.
Okay, we should work with Damon as the lead to establish a schedule that he can maintain with 4 people then as well, if we're even thinking about it. But we need to have that laid out, how their schedules are going to look. That'll help us a lot in making decisions like this.
TC?
So you and we talked, I called and asked a question, and I'm voting for this for 2 reasons. Ironically, only one of them has come up. The first is, it's been assured that we're talking about a few $100s. total adjustment to the budget to pull this off. And when you juxtapose that to the thousands of dollars saving on the fire side, that's a no-brainer. The business owner in me wants to clarify that a raise is given to a seasonal or a part-time person because the work they've done merits the raise. Just because we move a title from seasonal to part-time, or, you know, I like you this much to I like you that much, to me, we ought to be basing this decision based on the quality of work for seasonal and part-time, not just because there's been X number of days on the clock. To that end, I've heard nothing but exceptional things about this employee. I've heard it from the fire department, I've heard it from the sheriff's office, and I've heard it from a couple of citizens. So for those reasons, I'm supportive of it in going forward.
Any more comments or questions? And and Damon couldn't be on the call tonight. He had a family issue, so I was hoping he'd be able to be on to answer some of the questions as he does oversee the ordinance department in detail. But yeah, I'll have him get a detailed plan out to you guys, Mr. Steiner, with all your questions about winter hours and stuff, because it does change. Hours change.
Right.
So
And it's good to know that, you know, everybody knows that we have those coverages so everybody can see when we're covered.
well, what I can have Damon do is start sending you guys out the schedule with their phone numbers on it, if you'd like that, every month as well.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't hurt either, because I know there's times where I receive phone calls from residents and I'm not sure necessarily who's on call at the time. So yeah, that'd probably be a good idea.
Yeah, well, I'll have him start sending that out to you guys. Miss Tenenberry?
Well, I mean, again, I don't question that she's a great employee. That has nothing to do with it. But, so, okay, so Shayla's hours are cut. Is that permanent?
Correct.
So that makes her a part-time person, or?
She's still part-time, yeah.
Okay, so, we're cutting her hours at what rate?
I believe Shayla's at $21 or $22. Trudy, do you have that information handy or no? I think she's roughly $21, $22.
So we're cutting her 8 hours and we're adding how many hours to this part-time that will be raised? What did you said, 50 cents or something?
As of right now, there will be no hours changed with her. She'll still be working 32 hours.
No, I'm sorry, but her rate of pay.
The rate of pay, Trudy
It's
said.
60 cents an hour, which is about 4%.
Okay, so it's less than a wash. We're saving money.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, with the cuts we just wouldn't have had weekend coverage. And then Chief basically said, listen, you guys are saving us. Shayla makes $20 an hour. You know, with the savings with the fire department, with them not having to go on these illegal burn call runs and saving $30,000. So it's a no-brainer to keep the weekend coverage and keep doing what we're doing, because what we're doing is saving money. So.
Well, yeah, again, I'm all in favor. You started out by saying the hours wouldn't be changed. So that said to me, what's the need for increasing her pay? But since we are going from a $20 an hour, 8 hours permanent, you said permanent, so I'm going to hold you to that, to the same hours for a seasonal, then we're saving money, and that makes a difference to me.
So as of right now, Caitlin's hours won't be changing. If what Chief is telling me is true about part-time people can work 40 hours a week, then what I would do is change Caitlin's hours to reflect the weekend, so there's more coverage on the weekend. If it's not true, then we'll probably end up hiring somebody else, 8 or 10 hours a week. Ms. Hirschberger?
I just wanted to reiterate that I just want to make sure that during the burning season, we do have her on, because that would be my reason to support this, is to make sure, since the fire department is putting money towards it, that her hours reflect the same hours, actually a little more.
100%. We'll have some cover and burn for sure. And to be quite honest, it doesn't really matter if it's her, as long as the hours are covered. That's all chief cares about. So, Mr. Steiner?
So just last question for Mr. Goldsmith. Again, I'm certainly not a labor attorney and everything, but I do know that over the years, I know some of the laws stated that you could work an employee as a part-time employee up to 40 hours, but no more than a consecutive number of weeks before having to make them full-time. So are we still at that? And I think that might help, when it comes to the scheduling, to make sure that we don't get into that status.
Well, the person to probably ask this would be Chief, because he just went through this with Phil and Nance. Unless, Mr. Goldsmith, you can answer, but Chief is pretty well versed on it at this point, because Nance has been working with him on it. But go ahead, either one.
Yeah, either one.
There used to be a limit on consecutive weeks. I haven't looked at it lately, so I'd have to defer to Mr. Nance. I don't know if the chief is still to address it, but I think that needs to be clarified.
Chief, there you go.
Yeah, so we asked a very similar question with regards to the fire department recently. And the answer that we got back from Mr. Nance was that the fire department individually can't be considered as far as the Affordable Care Act. It has the township as a whole. So I will share with you, I think I may have sent it out, but it was a little bit long and dry, his opinion. No offense to Mr. Nance, but it was long, and what it basically said is it's based on the full-time equivalent, part-time employees that we have. The calculation that Kirschberger and I did, and looking at them, we're well under the threshold where we would have to closely track those hours up to 40. So I'll make sure I send that out in the morning. I'll include Mr. Goldsmith in it. But we did recently visit this topic, and we're assured that we were okay if we had to use a part-time employee beyond 29 or 30 hours.
So,
okay. As long as we're monitoring that, then I think we're covered.
okay, any more comments or questions? Seeing none, I look for a motion.
Mr. Supervisor, I'll make a motion that we modify the current assignment of Caitlin Hatfield from seasonal to part-time, reflecting the wage increase as stated.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and supported by Mr. Steiner. Discussion.
With a
I just want to
friendly
say,
amendment.
oh, go ahead.
I'd like to just amend with a friendly amendment, Mr. Clemens, regarding the not to exceed the hours that would require this job to be moved into a full-time position, and that we monitor.
Agreed.
Ms. Tenneberry?
Could I ask that a beginning such and such a date would be added?
Absolutely.
When's most convenient, if someone will give me some direction?
Today would have been great.
I'd say, would it be easier to do a payroll date?
Today.
All right, then I'll make my motion effective today's date, which is August 11th, 2020.
I'll accept it.
Okay, any more discussion? I just wanted to say, yeah, as far as information, I was hoping Damon was on the call, so, but go ahead with roll.
Mr. Clemens?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Ms. Tinneberry?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy? I think
There he
that-
is, come on in.
I'll come back. Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Did George let him back in? Mr. Montroy?
I'm back.
Okay, Mr. Montroy, do
Aye.
you vote?
Are-
Thank you. Mr. Peroni?
Are you on 8C? Yes.
Yes.
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Okay, moving on to comments from the public. Comments limited to 5 minutes. Come on, call in.
Hi, Lamar Frederick, back again, 3254 Deer Creek Drive. And Mr. Supervisor, I did hang up earlier.
Yeah, I just know that last week you did, and we could hear you after you hung up,
Yeah,
or
I
thought you
understand.
hung up.
Since the issue with respect to the roundabout has been moved, I recommend that all of the board members secure the transcript of the meeting between the township representatives and the road commission staff on the roundabout, so that each of you can get the flavor of the meeting, the ups and downs, the give and take, and the comments that were made between the parties. I think this is important to make sure that you understand what was discussed and the results of the discussion. And the transcript is about 20-some pages, but I think it would be valuable for each of the board members to secure that. And it comes in a digital form. She can email it to you so you can have it in no time flat. Thank you very much. And I'm hanging up.
Have a good night. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much. And I'm hanging up.
Go ahead, Ms. King, with your name and address.
Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance. First off, I want to thank the chief for his full disclosure, for his efforts to keep our historical buildings and to seek the grants, and for the due diligence that he is taking in maintaining what we already have. I have an additional comment. I have found out via FOIA that Mulch King was indeed paid their number 2 installment, despite the fact that they are in violation of their contract and the agreement that he be in compliance with planning. He is not. The other thing I wish to voice is that I have concerns with the changes regarding this ordinance department. There are some issues with that department. And I think given the fact that we have possibly a change of the board coming up in November, that our hirings and that kind of stuff kind of be held off. I think seasonal should be defined. There should be a time frame that they are considered seasonal, and at that time, they either be let go or then changed to part-time. These ordinance officers have specific duties which limits their use. And if not, then we need to get over this saying what they're for or why they should be validated. The specific duties: fire, illegal burns in the summer, or anytime after 12 midnight. These campfires that go till 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning. If she is indeed under the fire department, then she needs to have her position moved out of the township ordinance department and put with the chief, so that he is overseeing her actions, her behavior, and he's paying for half of her wages. Picking up their hours and just choosing when they want to work and what days they want to work and the weekends they want to work. Boy, what a luxury our ordinance officers have. The comments that were made regarding the maintenance department, I want a confirmation statement from our supervisor that I have heard correctly, that despite the fact that we've had one seasonal already leave by her application, the other 2 are supposed to be leaving as seasonal, but again, this time frame is lacking for what a seasonal employee is in the maintenance department. But you specifically said, Mr. Peroni, that you will not be hiring back the union worker once these other two workers leave. Is that correct? Again, I am accusing you of trying to bust the union. And I find this appalling given your history. So I would expect that you could be clear with us, the voters, as to what your real, true intentions are with this maintenance department besides a vendetta. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night.
I will.
Any more comments, George? Okay. Seeing none. Okay, board comments. Actually, Mr. Goldsmith, you want to start first?
With respect to the roundabout issue, encourage the board to
Hold on
place.
1 second, Mr. Goldsmith. Anybody that's not speaking, could you mute your end, please? We're getting a lot of feedback.
Okay, with respect to the roundabout issue, I would encourage the board to put it on the agenda for the next meeting. There was a meeting, as Mr. Frederick indicated during his public comment time at the Road Commission. I attended that meeting on behalf of the township, and township representatives attended that meeting as well. Supervisor Peroni, Trustee Montry, and Treasurer Jandazek attended that meeting. So there was, I thought, very good discussion, frank discussion during that meeting relative to what we do next with respect to the roundabout issue. After that meeting, at the request of the Road Commission and with the permission of the township, I sent a follow-up letter to the Road Commission, specifically asking them to consider several alternatives that were proposed by our engineer, Barry Bushman. That letter went out. I went to that meeting. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was July 27th, 2020. At that meeting, it was made abundantly clear to me that the Road Commission would not commit any additional resources other than the $175,000 that they had committed some time ago to that project. So leaving that meeting, I authored a letter, sent it to the township board members. You've all received that. We could use that perhaps as a discussion point for the next meeting to discuss the issue. Basically, at this point in time, it would appear that we're in a position to strongly consider delaying the roundabout project until the next CMAQ grant cycle. That has to be submitted by the Road Commission. They submitted it before. And perhaps at that time, the application could more accurately reflect the cost of the project, so that would put us in a better position as a township financially to finish that project. With respect to the site as it currently exists, the township has acquired ownership of the site. There needs to be some work done if it's delayed to remove some concrete on the property acquired by the township, bring in some fill material and seed it. I specifically asked the Road Commission on the 27th whether they would undertake the expense associated with that. And I received a positive response to that request, due primarily to the fact that the township, I believe, has spent roughly $140,000 of the $175,000 that we committed to the project, we the township, whereas the Road Commission has spent roughly $40,000 thus far to the project. So I'm really giving you a complete picture of where we're at right now for your consideration before the next board meeting. But the Road Commission responded favorably to putting resources in that they've already committed. And I put a phone call in today, and I'll be talking more with the managing director and should hopefully have more information for you at the next meeting. And there's a lot of different reasons why it may be a good idea for the board to consider delaying the project. And there's really no fault. It's just one thing is timing. One thing is that the project by the road commission's personnel, and I'm not blaming anybody or criticizing anybody, because the estimates were based on other roundabout projects that were done in other areas of the state. It was just undervalued slightly. So I think if we approach this fresh, we can do a better job for the citizens. So I think that's all I have to say on that issue.
And just so the board members know, in the end, what has been conveyed to me from the road commission is that in the end, when we're done with the project, as far as putting it on hold, that we would both be out the same amount of money until we go for the grant again. So if we have 140, they have 40. If they put another 20 into the property, cleaning it up, they would offset the cost to us. So we're in it evenly. And keep in mind, that property, we have a couple of options that we can do. There's a chunk of it that we could sell off, and if we don't get the grant, eventually we could sell the property. It's a pretty valuable piece of property where it sits at C1. So I just wanted Phil to update the board on that. Ms. Tinneberry?
Thank you. I just have one comment. On July 22nd, I received an email through my township email from a gentleman from, excuse me, let me rephrase that. I typically speak of the male gender as gentleman, but a man who sent me a very threatening email. He's the executive director of the Washtenaw County NORML. And he sent me that because of my position and my comments I have made publicly on the cannabis sale in Bedford Township. This board voted to opt out of that portion of the law, as a board. And my personal comments are my own. I live in America, as you all do, as we all do, and I believe in the freedom of speech. I believe that as a person, I am not speaking as an elected official. I'm speaking as a person that has an opinion about cannabis and the sale of cannabis. And this person is a self-proclaimed cannabis entrepreneur. And so to send me threatening emails, it's not, I'm saying it tonight to make it public. I am not a bit threatened by it. I will continue to speak my mind and speak my opinion to my friends and to voters based on what I believe in my heart. So my point is that this email tells me a lot about cannabis entrepreneurs. And I will say, based on my personal opinion, that we as an electorate need to be careful about opening this up to our community. So I appreciate the time to say this, because I just think that to be a public official does not mean that you have the right to be threatened. Thank you.
You're muted,
Muted.
Paul.
I'm muted. I'm looking at Mr. Steiner thinking he's muted. Mr. Steiner?
I was muted, but I couldn't hear you.
Because I was muted.
All right. So this evening, I just want to say, as many of you have heard me proclaim many times about being safe and doing things right for your neighbors. Recently, I've been receiving multiple phone calls, and my family themselves have incurred a couple of occasions where we seem to have a lot of subdivisions with people running around subdivisions in golf carts. Many of these golf carts are operating on the roadways. They are not licensed. They're also being driven at many times by children. And I know one of my family members had come around a corner, encountered a golf cart, and it could have been ugly. And the kids just decided to laugh and thought it was funny. We need to make sure and respect our neighbors. We also need to respect our own family and our own children to let them operate a golf cart on a public roadway. It's number one, illegal, and these children are not licensed to drive as well. The last thing I would want to see is somebody get run over driving a golf cart because they were not seen, because it was dusk or dark, because they were not seen because of a curve. And then we have another sad situation on our hands, which we all want to prohibit and prevent from happening. So I would ask all of my friends and neighbors throughout the township. I know it happens in my subdivision. I have had calls about other subdivisions as well. It's not just golf carts though. I've heard of subdivisions with motorbikes, scooters, multiple kinds of motorized equipment being used on roadways. And I'm just calling out to the public, asking you to please encourage the use of those items in the proper places so we do not have a bad injury or even worse, which I don't even want to mention the worst. We all know what that is. With all that said, I'm going to leave it on the table and for everyone to think about those kind of things and protect your own family and the citizens around you. Thank you.
Mr. Montroy?
I thought you'd have me go first before you lose me again. I just say, well, I guess I was thankful that we had a little bit lighter and shorter meeting with my technical difficulties this evening, but I just wanted to thank the citizens of Bedford for getting out and letting their voice be heard on Tuesday, and congratulate all the winners on Tuesday, as well as commend Ms. Hirschberger and her department for handling all of that, because I was not envious of her. And but beyond that, that's all I got.
Mr. Clements?
Yes, so Mr. Supervisor, you started off the meeting with a moment of reflection for the incident that happened in this community a couple weeks ago. One of the best parts about living in this community is that unfortunately when tragedy strikes, we come together. And so I just wanted to say that I hope that we all will continue to keep the families of those affected, all those who were at the scene, and all those who experienced a ripple effect from it in our thoughts and prayers as we go forward. And to also commend Bedford as a community for stepping up and for helping in a time of tragedy. Other than that, I have nothing.
Okay. Ms. Janczak?
I just want to thank everyone for coming out and voting as well, and also for being patient the last couple of weeks when coming through the drive-through, with it being extremely busy with obviously the elections and taxes and stuff. I just wanted to also commend Trudy and her department. They did a phenomenal job. Thanks.
Okay. Ms. Hirschberger?
I have a few things. I want to remind everyone that our next meeting is next week. They're back to back. So if you have anything for the agenda, please get it to me tomorrow so we can get that ready. I also want to thank all of my election workers. They worked very hard, especially my absentee voting board. It was a long night. They did a great job. We counted over 5,000 ballots, but they did a terrific job. I also want to thank Daisy and Marilyn. Those were two of my volunteers that helped throughout the month trying to get ballots done and counting, and they did everything for me and they volunteered all that time. So I really appreciate them. And thank you to Nancy and Angie. They did a great job. This was a huge election, more than we thought it was going to be, and we pulled it off. I couldn't have done it without them. So thank them very much. Which brings me to my next comment. At the next meeting, I am going to be asking this board to amend the budget already. I would like to purchase a second high-speed tabulator due to the high volume of absentee ballots. I think if I had two, the night would have been a little bit shorter for my workers. We could have got through them a little faster. And also, I did apply and received a grant to pay for half of it from the state. So I will probably be bringing back, let's see, the grant, the machine. I already have a quote for it. So the tabulator will be close to 13,000 and they will cover half of it. So I will be bringing back an amendment to amend the budget for approximately $6,500. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up that I would be doing that. Didn't want to amend the budget this fast, or this soon, I should say, but in this situation with over 5,000 ballots, I think it's a good idea for for us to have a second tabulator and a second counting board to keep on top of things. And that's all I have.
Okay. I want to congratulate Krista. You look forward to working with you in the future. You'll do a fine job. Already are. Trudy, thank you so much for all your team's hard work. You guys, you make it look easy over there, but it is a nut house over there with all the papers. I mean, it's it's crazy how you guys operate that. It's a lot of work. So, but I just want to say a few things. If you haven't been to the firehouse off Temperance Road, stop by. I look forward to doing some sort of celebration when we can, but it looks amazing. The parking lots turned out really good. The bays and the office space. And we did it by saving an old building. It looks really nice. So I'm excited for the future of that. And I congratulate Chief on the grants, your continued success with that. You know, speaking about the funding of that fire department, you know, we leaned heavily on the treasurer to come up with a plan for months and months and months and months, you know, and it came down to the wire of how we were going to fund it. So, you know, that's kind of why it was in the position it was of, you know, we kind of lean on the treasurer to come up with a plan, a finance plan, or paying for it out of a general fund. So it was late in the game when we finally came up with a plan. I do want to say I'm working on and organizing a crew that can help out with the installation of we got a lot of new park equipment. Mr. Clemens, you're aware of that. A lot of the old equipment that needs to be replaced in Samaria. Car and White is aged and needs to be replaced. I'm going to be working with the local 55 ironworkers. They'll be volunteering, have a big volunteering day, bringing out some professional people to help us out with those needs. And then with the maintenance department, we're in the midst right now of revamping the maintenance department, and it's long overdue. I'm taking a more personalized interest in it to where I know kind of exactly what's going on. The days of two maintenance guys in a dump truck delivering packets and filling up coffee in the morning for elected officials and sleeping behind the police barn are over. And you know, I'm the supervisor that's doing it. So, you know, we're doing the same job with less people. Does that make me anti-union? No. You know, like I said, tough decisions have to be made when you're in these positions. And ultimately, in the end, we represent a whole community of people, 32,000 people. Let me tell you, these 32,000 people in Bedford Township aren't union. they're not all union and they're not all non-union. So you have to do what's best for the community as a whole, and you have to put your mind always there. And I believe this board has always done that and will continue to do it. But I can tell you this, your parks are going to be looking better. More attention to detail is going to be taken when we're at the parks. We're going through for each park, each building's going to have a checklist that our maintenance workers will receive, and the checklist will be gone off. You know, and we'll make sure certain things are done. You know, we won't be seeing 2-foot tall weeds anymore. You know, those things are just, should be taken care of. So did I miss anything from anybody, any public comment that you guys can think of? I think I pretty much hit them all. So with no further comments, we stand adjourned.